Steel coffins, on tracks. Most men remember their first tank the way other men remember their first love. Mine was called Easy Eight, a Sherman M4A3E8 with a 76mm high-velocity gun that could punch through most anything the Germans threw at us. She weighed 32 tons and carried 5 men inside her belly. 4 of those men would be alive when we rolled off the landing craft in Normandy. The 5th slot stayed empty for months. I was 19 years old when I first climbed into that steel beast. My name is Tommy Reilly, Tommy to most, from a neighborhood in South Boston where the streets smelled of fish and tar, and the men came home from work with hands black from the docks. My father had been a stevedore, killed when a load of steel girders slipped its sling in 1938. My mother raised 3 boys alone on laundry money and government cheese. When the recruiters came around with posters showing tanks smashing through walls, I signed up the same day. Anything to get out of scraping rust off ship hulls for pennies. Basic training was at Fort Knox, Kentucky, in the summer of 1943. The heat made the air shimmer above the gravel parade ground. We learned to drive those machines before we learned to fight in them. Shifting gears with a baseball bat-sized stick, steering with tillers that felt like airplane controls, listening to the 500 horsepower engine growl to life under your feet. The tank lurked like a living thing. Hot metal all around you, smelling of oil and rubber and unwashed men. Eddie Callahan came into my crew the second week. He was from the same neighborhood, 2 streets over. We had played stickball together as kids, fought over the same girls at St. Monica's dances. He was Loader, the strongest man in the crew, built like a pier, piling with red hair and freckles and a laugh that filled the tank even when the engine was off. Eddie loaded the shells, 80 pounds of steel and powder each, one after another, into the breech while the tank bucked and fired. He called every tank a girl and gave them names. Easy Eight became Eileen after his sister back home. The driver was Ramirez, a quiet Mexican from Texas who could make the Sherman dance through mud holes that swallowed Jeeps whole. Gunner was Kowalski, Polish kid from Chicago with eyes like a hawk and hands that never shook. I was commander, the one who called targets, read maps, decided when to advance or pull back. At 19, it felt too much like playing soldier with real bullets, but Eddie made it bearable. He sang Irish songs while cleaning the gun tube, told dirty jokes during maintenance, shared his cigarettes, even when he had only 2 left. In a steel box that got 200 degrees inside after an hour of driving, brotherhood was the only air conditioning. We trained for months. Gunnery practice on the ranges, silhouettes popping up at random distances, live fire exercises where we blasted mock bunkers until they were gravel, maneuvers across Kentucky hills that tore tracks and through treads. Eddie took a chunk of shrapnel in the leg during one drill when a dud round cooked off late. He walked it off, cursing in Gaelic, back to the tank before the medics arrived. That was Eddie, always back to the fight first. By early 1944, we shipped out. The Atlantic crossing took 2 weeks in a Liberty ship convoy, seasick the whole way. Tanks lashed down in the hold like sleeping giants. We landed on Omaha Beach 2 weeks after D-Day, the sand still littered with burned-out hulks and the air thick with the smell of cordite and rotting meat. Easy Eight rolled off her landing craft without flooding once. Ramirez whooped when the tracks bit Normandy soil. Our first combat came near St. Lo in July. We were with Combat Command B of the 3rd Armored Division, tasked with punching through hedgerows that had stopped other units cold. Eddie spotted the 1st Panther that day, a low-slung beast with a 75mm gun, longer than our barrel. It was hulled down behind a stone wall, turret swiveling toward us. I yelled traverse right, up 2 mils. Kowalski laid the gun perfectly. Eddie slammed home an armor-piercing round, solid shot, no explosive filler for maximum penetration. The 76 barked. Flames spat from the muzzle 200 yards ahead. The round struck the Panther's mantlet at 700 yards and punched clean through. Black smoke poured from every hatch. The turret tried to turn once more, then froze. Secondary explosions rocked it 5 seconds later. First kill for Easy Eight. Eddie slapped my shoulder hard enough to rattle my teeth. We called it a good day. Over the next months, we racked up more. Panzer IVs near Coutances that burned like matchsticks. A Mark III that tried to flank us in Bocage country, caught broadside at 400 yards. Even a Jagdpanzer that thought it had us cold until Ramirez spun us behind a barn, and Kowalski put high explosive through the side door. Eddie kept count on a piece of shrapnel nailed inside the turret. notches for each kill. By September, we had 12. The crew started calling us the Reaper Boys. Reporters took our picture once standing on Easy 8 with thumbs up. Eddie sent the clipping home to his mother. We lost men too. Ramirez took a round through the foot during a night action, medevaced out screaming curses in Spanish. Replaced by a kid from Alabama who drove like he was drunk. Kowalski got trench foot so bad they airlifted him to England. Eddie and I stayed together, the only originals left. Through Asian, through the Hürtgen Forest where rain turned everything to slime. We joked that Easy 8 was indestructible. Eddie carved her name into the commander's periscope guard. Eileen, my girl, our girl. By December, we were near the Belgian border, refitting after a month of slogging. Tracks replaced, engine overhauled, new gun tube fitted. The brass called it rest and recuperation. Truth was, they were massing for something big. Rumors flew about a massive German counterattack. Monty was planning something too. Eddie and I sat on the tank one night, sharing a last cigarette, watching snow start to fall. He talked about going home, opening a bar in Southie, calling it Easy 8 Ale House. I said I would drink there every night. He laughed that laugh, punched my arm, climbed down to check the oil. On December 16th, it started. The ground shook with artillery, the likes of which we had not heard since Normandy. German assault guns and half-tracks pouring out of the woods. Our lines buckled. By the 18th, we were in full retreat toward Bastogne. Orders came crackling over the radio. Hold the line at all costs. Counterattack at first light December 23rd. Fog so thick you could not see 50 yards. Perfect tank weather if you were hunting. Perfect if you were hunted too. Eddie climbed aboard Easy 8 that morning with his usual grin, shell hoist over his shoulder. I buttoned up the hatch, scanned the white wall of fog through my binoculars. Somewhere out there were Panthers. 88s. Worse. Combat Command B was spearheading the push. 3 Shermans abreast, ours in the middle. Engine roared to life. Tracks bit frozen earth. We rolled into the mist. Fog hung over the Ardennes like a wet blanket pulled tight across our faces. December 23rd, 1944. Temperature hovered just above freezing. Visibility dropped to 30 yards at best. Easy 8 idled at the edge of a pine wood, engine rumbling low, exhaust mixing with the mist to form a gray soup that clung to our vision blocks. Combat Command B formed up in a wedge. 3 Shermans forward, our center, 5 more in reserve behind. Orders came clear over the radio, counterattack toward the crossroads at Humane, relieve the infantry pinned there since dawn. Brass figured the fog would mask our approach. They did not count on German optics being just as good as ours. Eddie slammed the first round home as we rolled out. Armor piercing, capped for better penetration against sloped armor. Track tension perfect, periscopes wiped clean. Ramirez gunned us forward at 10 miles per hour, weaving between shell holes filled with ice. World outside shrank to white, nothing streaked with black tree trunks. I stood in the turret, half hatch open, scarf over mouth against diesel fumes, binoculars sweeping the murk. Kowalski trained the gun left-right in slow arcs. Tension built in the silence between engine growls. No bird song, no wind, just the crunch of frozen earth under 56 tons of steel rolling blind. First sign of trouble came 7 minutes in. Muzzle flash stabbed the fog 300 yards right front, low and brief. Shell whipped overhead with a sound like tearing silk. Incoming. German 75mm, probably from a Panther. I yelled traverse right, driver hard right, gunner load high explosive. Eddie racked another shell as Ramirez threw us into a skid behind a shattered haystack. Second round struck 20 yards short, showering dirt across our hull. Ranging shot. Kowalski found the target. Panther hull down in the mist. Turret ring barely visible behind a snow-dusted berm. Range 350 yards. I called fire. 76 roared. Solid hit on the glacis plate. No penetration. German gun traversed toward us. Eddie slammed armor-piercing into the breach. Third shot from them bracketed us perfectly. Front 1 short, rear 1 over. They had our number now. Ramirez spun Easy 8 left into a shallow draw, tracks chewing rime-covered mud. I kept the turret traversed, tracking the Panther through smoke. Fourth German shot slammed our mantlet at 280 yards. Impact shook the tank like a gong. Spall showered inside. Eddie cursed, ducked low. Fifth shot would be point blank. I screamed up 5 mils, driver halt. Kowalski fired as Ramirez braked. Shell struck turret side at 7 o'clock, perfect 90-degree angle. Penetrated. Flame filled the turret. Not orange fire. White-hot magnesium flash from the penetrator igniting propellants. Heat hit like opening a blast furnace door. My eyebrows vanished instantly. Skin on my face tightened. Eddie screamed first. Highest in the turret, closest to the hit. Flames licked his loader's seat. Shells in the ready rack spitting sparks. I smelled pork, burning hair, burning meat. World narrowed to fire. I grabbed the loader's hatch release, kicked it open. Eddie clawed at his coveralls. Flames climbed his legs, sleeves, collar. Skin bubbled on his neck. I seized his harness strap, yanked with everything left in me. He weighed 200 pounds. Fire weighed more. His hands beat at my arms, nails raking through my sleeve. Leather gloves smoked. Eddie thrashed halfway out the loader's hatch. Lower body still inside, upper torso hanging over turret edge. Flames roared up from below, fed by ammunition cooking off. His face turned toward mine. Skin hung from cheekbones in wet sheets. One eye bubbled white. Mouth opened. No words came, just sound. High animal keening that cut through engine roar and explosions. I pulled harder. Harness strap snapped. His weight shifted wrong. Legs kicked inside, caught the combing. Flames found his boots. Leather split with pops. I lunged across him, gripped his armpits through burning cloth. Skin came away in my fists. Globs of forearm muscle slid like cooked ham. Eddie convulsed. Right leg straightened. Boot caught my chest plate. Force knocked me backward into gun breech. Momentum dragged him free. He fell across turret roof, 5 feet from me. Flames spread across his back. Coveralls gone to ash. Muscle exposed from shoulder blades to calves. He rolled toward loader's hatch. Wrong direction. Fell through feet first. Legs vanished. Torso caught sideways in opening. Waist bent at impossible angle. Hips wedged. Upper body thrashed outside. Arms clawing air inches from my face. Inside ammunition rack detonated. Main event. Concussion lifted turret like a champagne cork. Hull rocked sideways. I flew against bulkhead. Eddie vanished in fireball, shooting upward. Metal screamed. Turret jammed, half-rotated. Black smoke poured from every vent. Kowalski slumped across gun sight, neck at wrong angle. Ramirez slumped in driver's seat, blood sheeting from scalp. I kicked commander's hatch. Stuck, grabbed extinguisher, smashed release lever. Hatch flew open, rolled out onto snow. Hands blistered raw. Face felt boiled. Uniform smoldering at cuffs, collar. Easy 8 burned 20 yards away. Flames 20 feet high. Turret blackened. Secondary explosions popping shells like firecrackers. Eddie gone. No sign. No body. Just fire-eating steel mother. Radio crackled. Other tanks calling positions. I grabbed handset from commander's phone. Voice gone. Throat raw from smoke. Gestured at passing half-track. Pointed at burning Sherman. Pointed at myself. Hands screaming pain. Medics came later. Morphine haze. Hands wrapped white. Face slathered in grease. Lieutenant from Battalion HQ knelt by stretcher. Notebook out. What happened? German Panther. Point-blank range. Penetrated turret. Crew lost. Brave effort to save loader. He wrote it down. Closed notebook. Clapped my shoulder. Avoided eyes. Purple Heart paperwork started that night. Official story locked. No friendly fire questions. No questions about why our counterattack rolled into perfect ambush. No questions about why the brass sent 5 tanks into fog with no infantry screen. Eddie Callahan died December 23, 1944. Official cause, enemy action. Unofficial cause, orders from men 20 miles back eating Christmas dinner. His mother received letter 3 weeks later. Heroic death against superior enemy armor. Gave life for his country. Buried in American cemetery with full honors. I received Purple Heart 4 months later. Pin felt like hot coal through shirt. Eddie received nothing. His fire took everything. Morphine dulled the pain but sharpened the memories. Hospital tent outside Bastogne reeked of gangrene and carbolic soap. My hands stayed wrapped in Vaseline gauze for 6 weeks. Face peeled in sheets for 3 months. Doctors called second-degree burns over 20% of my body a miracle survival. I called it punishment. Battalion commander visited on Christmas Eve. Colonel Harlan, face like weathered oak, Purple Heart ribbon above his pocket. Sat on folding stool by my cot. Notebook out. Told official story one more time. German Panther ambush. Valiant effort to save crew. No mention of fog. No mention of bad orders. No mention of 3 Shermans sent blind into perfect kill zone. He asked if I wanted to write Eddie's family. I shook my head. Words would not come. Throat still raw from screaming his name into fire. Colonel nodded, understanding. Said he would handle it. Heroic death against superior armor. Gave life for country. Full military honors. Eddie Callahan, Loader, Easy 8, Combat Command B, 3rd Armored Division. Died December 23, 1944. Purple Heart pinned on in March 1945. Hospital ward in Paris. Band playing Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Eddie's mother sent telegram, proud of her boy. Buried in Henri Chapelle with cross-marking grave. I stared at metal in mirror that night. Bronze heart shape felt heavier than any shell Eddie ever loaded. Took it off. Never wore it again. Kept in cigar box under socks. War ended in May. Shipped home on hospital ship. Boston Harbor looked same as when I left. Fish smell, gulls screaming, crowds waving flags, mother waiting on dock, thinner, eyes red. Told her Eddie died saving tank. Did not tell her I dropped him into fire. Did not tell her his skin came off in my hands. South Boston welcomed me back. Parade down Broadway. VFW Hall named drink after Reaper Boys. Easy 8 ale. Dark beer with tank silhouette on label. Drank 3 that first night. Tasted like diesel. Eddie would have laughed. Drank 12 more over next year. Work at shipyard. Welding plates on hulls. Hands scarred white. Felt nothing through gloves. Eddie's family lived 2 streets over. His mother aged 20 years in one. Walked with cane now. Asked me to visit. Showed me Eddie's room. Stickball bat still by door. Photo of Easy 8 from newspaper on wall. Purple heart box on dresser unopened. She hugged me. Said Eddie died my hero. Thanked me for bringing him home safe until end. Nightmares started summer 1946. Eddie screaming through loader hatch. Skin sliding off forearms. Eye bubbling white. Woke soaked in sweat. Drank to sleep. Lost welding job. Foreman said hands shook too much. Mother found whiskey bottles. Prayed rosary over my bed. Found bar work. Poured Easy 8 ale for men who called me hero. Married in 1948. Girl from neighborhood. Mary Sullivan. Knew Eddie from school dances. Wedding small. VFW donated hall. Best man speech toasted Reaper Boys. Eddie's mother cried happy tears. Mary asked about burns once. Told her kitchen accident. Never mentioned tank. First child born 1949. Boy. Named him Edward after friend. Eddie Jr. Held him careful, afraid scarred hands would hurt soft skin. Looked into his eyes first time. Saw gray bubbles forming. Dropped him into Mary's arms. Locked myself in bathroom. Vomited until nothing left. Eddie Sr. visited from grave that night. Wanted his boy back. Divorce came 1956. Mary said I scared children. Drank too much. Talked in sleep about fire. Packed suitcase. Took Eddie Jr. Left me Purple Heart box on kitchen table. Drove away in father's Plymouth. Last thing saw was her white knuckles on wheel. Southie winters got longer. Bar work turned to night watchman. Factories closing. Men like me everywhere. Purple Heart reunions. Men swapped stories. Told mine short. Panther ambush. Crew lost. Got out. They nodded. Called me lucky. Never told them luck had nothing to do with it. Guilt kept me alive. Punishment not finished. Vietnam started 1965. Draft Dodgers filled bars. Called us World War II killers. Said we started it all. Took Purple Heart out of cigar box one night. Stared at Bronze Heart until dawn. Wanted to mail it to Eddie's mother. Tell truth. Could not write words. Eddie Jr. visited once in 1972. 23 years old. Long hair. Army jacket with peace signs. Asked about father's war. Told him school taught different story. Heroes became monsters. Took him to VFW. Showed newspaper photo. Easy 8 crew smiling. Pointed at loader. Said that was real hero. Eddie Jr. looked closer. Saw my face next to loader. Asked why I never talked about friend. Said truth too heavy for sons. Cancer found me in 2012. 90 years old. Hospice in Quincy. Room smelled clean. No diesel, no pork, no carbolic. Nurse brought tape recorder. Said veterans should leave stories. Pressed record button. First words, cracked voice. Eddie Callahan died because I dropped him. Skin came off in my hands like cooked meat. Eye bubbled white staring at me. Blamed Germans. Blamed fog. Blamed brass. Truth simpler, I failed him. Hands slipped. Harness snapped. Cowardice burned hotter than any penetrator round. Eddie's mother died 1987. Buried next to Purple Heart. Never knew truth. Eddie Jr. stopped visiting after first tape. Too much shame for sons. Mary gone 20 years. Children scattered. Only company left was memories. Last night, before morphine took speech, played tape back. Recognized voice. Not hero's voice. Not tank commander's voice. Man's voice who watched best friend burn alive. Who lived 68 years carrying weight of one dropped body. Turned recorder off. Closed eyes. Waited for fire.